When I went to college for engineering in 2009, I was already alarmed at how the most common graphic calculators that we use in our courses were not very technologically different from those people in the 90s were using. And during my time in college, the smartphone revolution happened, which brought the cost of efficient mobile technology down. So, students today are obviously using devices that incorporate 10 years of technological advances, right? Wrong! Here is, for example, one of the most premium options, the Texas Instruments Inspire CX CAS, which fulfills all official regulation for exams in France and comes with such deluxe features as a 320 by 240 screen with an amazing 15 colors and a whopping 100 megabytes of storage. This is over 170 euros in Amazon and comes with 3 years of guarantee because it will never get obsolete. Thanks to the glacial speeds of reforms in education and regulation, students are stuck paying for obsolete hardware, and of course, the only thing you want to know is, can you run games on this thing? And yes, you can. You can connect the calculator to a PC over USB and use the TI-Link software, which of course did not recognize half my USB ports and took 2 hours of driver troubleshooting to connect because this software feels like it was meant 10 years ago. This calculator was 170 euros. But once you connect, you can send files over the 100 megabytes of included memory, and this device can natively run apps written in LUA, and a fair amount of people have coded games for these devices that can be readily downloaded. All it takes is to go to My Documents and open the game to play. From classics like good old Tetris to more modern classics like 2048 game that can be so addictive, or an extremely hard version of Flappy Bird. If you want to play something a bit more complex, we're gonna have to jailbreak this device. There is a brilliant software called Endless that modifies this sort of calculator to run apps written in ARM assembly or C. They have like a full SDK. This jailbreak software is more stable than the bloody official Texas Instruments software, and installing it is a breeze. You create a folder in your calculator called Endless and move the installer for the latest version there, along with the Endless resources file, and then you open the installer in your calculator. If everything goes alright, you get some nice green text on the upper corner. And you can install it by simply resetting the calculator with the button in the back. Before you install, however, you might want to take a look at this. This is a program that allows you to overclock your calculator. Yes, overclock your calculator. All you have to do to make it work automatically is to put it on a startup folder in your Endless folder, and then install Endless. The install might fail a couple of times as Nover is looking for the highest stable frequency, and it can crash. Just try the installation over and over until it works. Now that this is jailbroken, you can go to websites like TI Planet that has lots of cool little apps. Here's Doom, the classic PC game, just doing great on this calculator. The Doom program link in the description is basically an implementation of the engine, from which you can load maps that you also need to drop into the calculator on the same folder. I am using the shareware maps from the original Doom here, but the really impressive community built around this calculator has anything from Doom 2, a version of Duke Nukem 3D which works really well, to a Counter-Strike inspired custom map. Wow! Emulation is another interesting technical showcase. I was very surprised at how well Game Boy Color emulation worked and looked on this device, probably because this screen is very similar to the one on Game Boy Color. Of course, I do not have to tell you that laws regarding emulations and backups vary by country, and that if you post any links to copyrighted material in comments, I will ban you. But the emulator itself only requires the programs and the games. To move the games using the software, you need to add .tns to the file extension and move them to the same folder. Game Boy Advance? Not that easy. Obviously, if you lock out with a device that can be overclocked a fair bit, you might see good results with slower titles. The Game Boy Advance emulator requires a genuine Game Boy Advance BIOS, which is definitely not something that I'm going to tell you where to get, so maybe you might want to skip this one. And yet, turns out that we can go to the next level. While this is a very outdated piece of tech, it still has a more complex LCD screen. So, I pick this little guy from my used sale. This is a somewhat beat-up TI-84 Plus, one of the most common graphic calculators around there. This is closer to your mental image of a calculator, a monochrome 2-color screen that is only used for numbers and symbols. But this thing has USB ports as well, and some software that can be used to send small applications to the tiny onboard memory. The first thing that you need is a shell, an application that allows you to navigate and execute assembler or TI basic programs. There are a number of these, but the one I liked the most was Mirage OS, link in the description. Installing it is as simple as first installing TI Connect on your PC, connecting your PC over USB, and then navigate it to the downloaded Mirage OS folder, right-clicking Mirage OS.8xk and sending it to the device, making sure the destination is set to archive. Installing games is basically going to be the same process, right-clicking on an 8xp and sending it to the calculator. Once installed, you will see Mirage OS in the calculator app list, and once you run it, you can navigate between folders and execute games. Surprisingly, there are two versions of Doom for these types of calculators. The first, C-Doom, is already a testament to what some really clever coders can do. A simulated 3D game in a 2-color calculator screen with clear draw distances and interactivity. There's a surprising amount of animation on these enemies, which can make the experience a bit slow, but not less surprising. The other is Doom 83. Well, based on the same maps as far as I could get, the models seem similar to the cars in Wolfenstein, and the whole thing ran much faster and more efficiently. Surprisingly, the most shocking and fun game I played on this guy was neither of those, but rather this. This is a very well-made version of Fruit Ninja, the addictive mobile game, running on a calculator. It has a variety of fruits, bombs, and a tree life system. If you're looking for a time waster for a calculator, this is very high-quality stuff. One of the most interesting parts is how this game is played without a touchscreen. The keys on the bottom of the gamepad are used to simulate a touchscreen, so you slide your finger through the keys to cut. This game is a fantastic example of a remake of a game with a very ingenious control scheme, and the best example of how any control can be used to game creatively. Kudos to the developer, this is good stuff. So with that, now you can get some extra value out of one of the most obsolete student expenses there is. School regulations for exams sometimes feel like the academic education system is fighting technology rather than embracing it, especially when technology has revolutionized modern learning so much. You can learn almost everything online nowadays, like in Skillshare, where you can get access to 20,000 classes in design, business, technology, and so much other stuff. Premium memberships give you unlimited access to high-quality classes, and for the listing price of one of these things, you can get like a year and a half of Skillshare Premium. I'm not even kidding about that, do the math. Now that is how education should be in the future. And if you're still unsure, the first 200 people to use this link to sign up get their first 2 months of premium for free. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video and for actually providing good value in education. And thank you to you by helping this channel by contributing in Patreon.